right. Here we are.
Here we are.
District 6,
Yes.
St. Petersburg, Florida. You both are running.
Yeah.
I've got Linsey Grove and Jameka Williams here with me. How cool is this? I just want to say my podcast serves it checks several boxes for me,
Okay.
both personally and professionally. And this is like an embodiment of what I want to do with this kind of medium. I think it's so important to have these conversations, regardless of who wins and what we're doing after this. Just having these kind of conversations, in my opinion, are where progress happens, people grow, and getting the word out and everything. So I just appreciate both of you for being open, and Jameka helping to facilitate this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No, thank you for having us on. I'm excited to be here.
It's pretty cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, whoever you are out there. Welcome back to the Naaman Creative Show. Or if this is your first time, we talk to really cool people, and today's no exception. We have 2 people running for District 6, and that's a big deal. You guys are going to be pushing buttons and twiddling knobs of our lives, so no pressure or anything there.
Absolutely
Yeah.
none whatsoever.
I have a piece of paper in front of you guys, and there's numbers 1 through 3 there. So as I'm going to have each of you give a brief introduction of who you are. And as the other one is introducing themselves, or just as it strikes, because I didn't want to put you on the spot like immediately in that moment. Number 1, next to number 1, I want you to write the most important topic you think we should be focusing on.
Okay.
Right? In humanity and politics and this,
okay.
right? What is the top? If you
Okay.
just had to say, we need to focus a majority of energy on this, then number 2 is the next most important. So at least you have 2. And then 3 is, a lot of people are talking about this topic, and I think that this is the least important topic we need to be focusing on.
Interesting.
All
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2, very important. 3,
Okay.
the least important. Why are we talking about this? Let's please prioritize 1 and 2.
Sure. Okay.
All right. The goal here is I want to talk about the things that we all agree on. And obviously it doesn't matter for me, but we all
Sure.
agree on so many things. And that's the thing that bothers me about discourse today, is we find that 1%. That becomes the 99% of what we feel we disagree on. And so I think it's really important to illustrate that we agree on so much more than we disagree on. So I want to bring that out, bring that to light. And then I also want to see, like, where is it that we have differing opinions, and how would there be a compromise, or how would you approach those things, and maybe even talk about how each of you would approach those different problems. So
Okay.
that's kind of what I want to dive into after getting to know you each a
Awesome.
little. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Jameka, since I was introduced to you first and have been talking to you, I'm going to give you the floor first, and then Linsey, you can go next.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Well, as Josh said, my name is Jameka Williams. I have a background in marketing and community engagement, but I'm also a community advocate with several nonprofit organizations here in St. Petersburg. I started with what used to be the People's Council. Our first campaign was literally called "The Rent is Too Damn High," because during COVID, it was going just ballistic, and people were experiencing housing insecurity out of nowhere, and I just wanted to help. I wanted to be able to live and work and thrive here, not just work to pay rent, but also I knew real people in real time that were experiencing housing insecurity, and I wanted to be a resource for them. So the first thing I started, besides, canvassing and going to city council and going to protests, I started a blog called Housing is Human that really put a face to those experiencing housing insecurity, and it helped them get the resources they needed, but it also helped them not feel so alone, because they knew that there was people that were experiencing the same thing as them. So moving from that, I got involved with DSA and now the League of Women Voters, and now I'm on the board of my neighborhood association. So
Very
just a girl
important.
about town. I have a great social life as well, and I'm now scheduling rest. So that's what I'm now learning in my 33 years of life.
Oh, yeah. If you don't schedule rest in there, you're going to get burnt out quick, especially the work that you're doing in that realm and caring. This takes care. You said DCA?
DSA.
DSA. What does that stand for?
Democratic Socialists of America.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure it was whatever that, because I'm sure there will be other acronyms, but making sure everybody's on the page.
We're just so used to saying them, but we forget that's a technical term that
Totally.
not everyone knows. So yes,
Yeah.
DSA, Democratic Social. That's your AOC, Bernie Sanders folks. That
All right.
maybe people can, relate that to
Yeah.
that term.
Oh man, when I see Bernie and think about Bernie, I was totally for him when he was running. I was like, finally a person who like at least is like real, like at a base, Nobody is perfect.
Yeah,
Nobody is perfect.
Yeah.
And like, but Bernie, I could just like, this dude clearly cares, regardless of where you stand on stuff. That guy is being real with you and cares, and his history is so yeah. And when that bird landed in
my
front
God.
of him, it's at home, but
It's
I
like the
got
picture
the
that
birdie
launched
sticker.
like 1,000 like images, memes, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, good old Bernie. Okay, thank you, Jameka, for setting us up. Floor is yours, Linsey.
Sure. So, my name is Linsey Grove. I have lived here in St. Pete for 15 years, have been a resident of Roser Park, which is a lovely little neighborhood in South St. Pete. And, I came to Florida originally to go to USF and get my master's in public health and fell in love with St. Pete. I really loved the sense of community that this city really makes you feel when you're here. It's unlike any other place I've lived in that, like, everybody always says local. Oh, I want to go to this local coffee shop. In fact, my partner makes fun of me all the time because he's like, you say local a lot. I'm like, well, it's a value I think that we have here in St. Pete. For a lot of us, we're like, we don't want to go to Starbucks. We want to go to Pistol House or Black Crow. Because
Love
we
a
really,
Black Crow.
I know,
Love a
right?
Black Crow.
Right? So I will say too, staying here, I got really, really involved also in the League of Women Voters in 2017, right after the Women's March, and eventually became president during COVID, which was a really interesting time for somebody who has a degree in public health and for democracy. We were seeing, folks being nervous about going to the polls because they were worried about getting sick. And, that really demonstrated to me not only the need for, folks with different expertise to sit on the dais. I mean, we were seeing people in elected office making decisions about community well-being that were not based in science. And that really made me start thinking about, hey, what if we did have folks that worked in public health or in social services that were elected officials that could bring that added lived experience and added set of skills, right? I also am, good at facilitating, at doing collaboration, building consensus. These are all skill sets that not only are translatable from public health, but also, I think, doing coalition building, trying to figure out what makes sense in terms of policy that's going to impact people the most positively, right? So I left the league I left the presidency of the league in 2022 and immediately started working on Dr. Keisha Benson's campaign for school board. She was running for an at-large seat, which is the entire county, and that also really lit the fire to want to be able to enact change. Unfortunately, she lost to a QAnon candidate, which definitely was extremely disappointing, but also I think much like COVID and much like what we're seeing now in politics, has shown a light on the areas of our communities that really are either struggling, have bought into these ideas around white supremacy, around just, this really fervent individualism that has broken down the social fabric of all of our communities. And I really want to bring that back. And I think we need folks in office that are willing to, hit the ground running with wanting to build back those community connections versus engaging in political theater. I, have worked in the community for a long time, both, at the health department, as at the, I currently I'm a small business owner, and I do nonprofit consulting. So I do a lot around like trying to help folks that want to do good in our community scale that and build capacity to continue that work. And I think that that's something I can bring to city council.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to get to know both of you better. It's awesome when you start to uncover what brought people where they are now, especially like doing this kind of work. It's like when someone's like, yeah, I'm busy. I'm like, are you? Because I know some people who are doing a lot. And I'm not like downplaying anybody's feeling of how but there are people running much faster. And it seems like both of you are no exception on that. And I really appreciate it. The care that we have for how things are running, or how did this run wild? And now, whoa, we're seeing this wild thing, or like what you just said about someone who you were working with lost to someone in QAnon or whatever that is, that's telling, and we need to take that a bit seriously that, okay, so people, there's a deficiency of like being equipped with reasoning or logic or whatever education gaps there are to make sure that we can all, whatever realm we are in humanity, make proper decisions moving forward in this shared reality that we all share. No matter what, we breathe the same air, we use the same roads and public facilities and things like that. So like we got to get along.
Exactly.
And it does not have to be that hard. That's the wild thing that's frustrating. It's like it does not have to be hard.
I was carrying my t-shirts. I had just picked them up from Sarah. Shout out to Sarah at Wide Sky.
Hey, Sarah.
I was picking them up from her, and I was walking, my friend and I were walking to her car, and I had the box, and this guy was like, oh, what's in your box? A man talking to a woman. Oh, what's in your box? And I'm like, oh, I'm running for city council. It's my t-shirts. And he's like, tell me your first, like, 2 things. And I was like, housing, infrastructure. He was like, oh, so you're a liberal. I was like,
jeez.
I was like, city council is nonpartisan.
Yeah.
But also, why wouldn't you care about housing? You said you're a snowbird. Don't you want like
2 things that we all need,
right?
Yeah.
Don't you want your condo fees to stay like level?
Yeah.
And we also, your condo is on Beach Drive. Don't you want it to survive?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, like you said, like these are shared realities. Like that doesn't make me, anything. It's just like I care about not drowning, or I care about having somewhere to live and other people.
And I care about your ability to live here too. Like it's not just about my ability to live here. I want you to have a house and be protected.
And like go back to wherever you come from and have one to come back to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting how quickly that person was. I mean, the first thing, not like, oh, those are like neat things to focus on, or that's important, or I have a home too. It's like, I'm going to label you. I'm going to put you in this box.
Yeah.
Like, what does that do? Did that help the conversation in any way?
No.
It's and that's like part of an issue where we're seem to be so quick to like, I am left, I am right, I am middle. It's like, does it matter? What do you care about?
Yeah.
Let's get over that. And let's decide on the labels after we make progress.
Right.
I know that they have their place, right? But that's wild.
Yeah.
But it's not
in the
uncommon.
grand scheme of things, that is very wild.
Yeah. These are all things that touch all of us, right? Like regardless of your party and regardless of your income or sociodemographic status, right? Like again, like if you whether or not you live on Beach Drive or you live in Meltan Heights, housing is important to you, right? Having sidewalks, having a safe place during storms, those are all important to everybody. And that shouldn't be a partisan issue.
One would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so speaking of issues, so you had already kind of said some stuff that's like, I care about this and this and this. So let's start with number 1. And we'll go in order of how you introduce so that anybody who, because this isn't visual yet. We do have one video podcast out there,
nice.
but that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about what you guys think is the most important thing that we can focus on, or that you plan to focus on, and whatnot. And so real quick, I'm going to have Jameka say what's next to number one, and then Linsey, and then I'll let you dive into why. So what is number one for you, Jameka?
Definitely housing. That's been something that I've been, like I said, for the last 6 years, been organizing around getting more deeply, I say deeply, people affordable housing. And I say that because when we measure the AMI, it's kind of skewed from the influx of our population. We have people working remotely that are making much higher salaries that are contributing to our area median income, which the government uses for need based, like vouchers and stuff like that. But there's also a missing middle, our teachers, service workers, who are making more than that 30% and can pay a little more in rent, but they still can't pay $2,000, $2,100, like they're still struggling at that. And there's people who are making a little bit more who are still struggling too, who are still hurting. And when you said the world, I'm thinking, I put economy, because if people don't have jobs, they can't pay rent anyway. So like, building those pipelines, I think those will work together, building more deeply affordable housing with long-term affordability, and building talent pipelines so people can have jobs and 100 people aren't competing for the same job.
Sure.
So those are most important to me, because right now, unfortunately, I'm experiencing those same issues right now. I've been searching for work for 8 months now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's scary all the time,
Yeah.
But I'm a religious person, so I would say God has provided for me throughout this time, but it doesn't mean that the human in me is not scared.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, I used to tell stories about people who were facing these issues, but now I'm one of them. And so I just show up every day trying to, fight for those people who are feeling that squeeze, because not only am I one of them, but I've always felt what they've been going through. So yeah, I want to be a voice for all people, not just a select few.
Yeah. And you said something interesting what is AMI?
Oh, yes. Sorry, another
You're
technical
good.
term.
Yeah.
It's the area median index. So it's a percentage that's used to compare lower income, middle class, and like sort of an upper middle class based on needs of the people. So if I say affordable housing, people will say, well, we're building affordable housing. Well, someone making $14 an hour can't pay a $1,600 apartment. Now, to you, that sounds affordable in the grand scheme of things, because my apartment used to be $750. It's now $1,200.
Boy.
You see how that stretches, like how that's changed based on our population. So someone who was a server who was comfortable paying $750 is now struggling paying that $1,200, $1,400. So like that's just a percentage of what the need is for people who are needing truly affordable housing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, like, what I was going to say is there's a lot less people who could make a lot more who can affect that number depending on how that number is calculated and skew it in a way that really makes it difficult for people who are on the fringes, or like you said, teachers. That's like a tough thing. I used to be a teacher as well. And, it's like, okay, yeah, I made money and I could get by, but it's not like it is right there. And it's like, this is good work. Why?
Yeah.
It's interesting, the prioritization. So I agree. People should have affordable housing. So I would
100%.
imagine most people agree, except for maybe that dude on the street.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
doing just fine.
I'm just,
Right?
Yeah, he's doing just fine.
He's
Yeah.
the few that I was talking about.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
good
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you
Yeah.
don't struggle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anyone to. Like, that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're thriving, but everyone deserves
Yeah.
to have a place to lay. You know, like they say, money can't buy happiness, and that's true. But there's happiness in security.
Yes.
that's what I was just about to
Yeah, yeah,
say is
yeah.
people are sort of tunnel vision on that when you think about probably most of the topics that we're going to talk about today and the things that need to be addressed to help those who don't have as much help or was set up in a way or born into an environment, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
If we help people, the world will be safer and better.
Yes,
And we all,
exactly.
regardless of where you are,
Yeah.
you walk on the same streets and things like that.
Yeah.
If people are taken care of, then you are going to be in a better world. And that world will be better
Yeah.
and safer
Yeah.
and more enjoyable. And we can
Yes.
all just be happy and
Yes.
have fun.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying that's a great segue into my number one, which is strengthening our social fabric.
Oh,
Which, you know, typically when I'm out, I typically talk about, you know, affordability, which is actually my second one. But, you know, as I've gone and canvassed and, you know, been to community meetings and spoken with voters, you know, in order to enact change, we need people to be engaged in the process. And a lot of people feel really disempowered and really disengaged from politics, from just their community in general. And I think that has allowed folks with more means to be able to set policy, right? To advocate for policy that's only going to benefit them, right? And that really starts a snowball effect, right? Wow, I really would love to see more affordable housing, but you know, I don't have the time to show up to city council meetings. I work 3 jobs. I have kids. I don't have the mental or emotional space to even think about some of these things when all I'm concerned about is survival, right? And that has created the conditions that have allowed, I think, you know, I would say special interest groups to come in and make it even harder for people to advocate for the things that would make everyone's lives easier, right? We are in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. We have folks who are aging in place that are socially isolated. And we also live in I think, I would say maybe more nationally, we've gotten to this place where we don't know our neighbors. We are scared to like talk to people in person. It's easier to hide behind a screen and live inside of a digital, echo chamber. And so one of the things I would love to see is more support for these kinds of programs and opportunities for people to build back that social fabric, whether that's better support for neighborhood associations, creating more opportunities for people to get out of their houses and actually meet other people, to bridge some of these social gaps. I was literally last night at a neighborhood association meeting, and, one thing that I hear a lot, especially sort of in the downtown core, is people being really upset about homelessness. And for me, as somebody that's worked in social services, I used to be an HIV case manager when I first came here, and many of my clients were homeless. And, there is sometimes real vitriol for the unhoused.
Yeah.
And, for many of those folks, they are dealing with significant mental health issues. They are, they're trying to either get into recovery or they have relapse. I mean, there's so many different things that the unhoused are dealing with, on top of the fact that we are all in an affordable housing crisis. So imagine also being unhoused, and looking down the pipe at, federal funding cuts to substance use disorder programs, also affordable housing programs, wraparound services. So, I love that there are these neighborhood associations and actually people our age that are taking up the helm and saying, hey, these are also our neighbors and they are just trying to survive like the rest of us. we are more likely to be unhoused than we are to be millionaires. So the solidarity that we need to build is actually within the people that are literally in our proximity. And so let's try to creative problem solve. Can we work with, St. Vincent de Paul and Bowley Centers and the police and the city to come up with creative solutions to help, folks who are unhoused, to help educate residents, right? Because there's this fear that a homeless person is going to, be violent with them, when the reality is, statistically, a homeless person is more likely to be a victim of violence than they are to be a perpetrator. So when you see somebody who is unhoused, who's just laying in the park, are you actually scared or are you uncomfortable? Those are two different emotions. And helping people understand and navigate that, and also explain to them what the current system looks like and why we're seeing this outcome, I think is how we build a better social fabric to increase empathy and also to get people engaged in the process, to be like, hey, I am uncomfortable with seeing, folks laying in Unity Park, because it's not because I'm scared of them. It's because I feel helpless to be able to even try and assist them. I have no idea what to give them in order for them to be housed or to help them in their situation. And if you are feeling uncomfortable, there are ways for you to be a better advocate in your community. And so that's, for me, I really want to, I think that's extremely important, especially as we look at other policy solutions around affordability, around infrastructure, around, zoning and ordinances and that kind of thing, because you do need community support, and you need a community that's willing to go to bat to support those kinds of policy ideas.
Yeah. You brought up, I'm glad that you kind of ended in that light, because, all I can think about is when you think about the situation of seeing someone who's unhoused and on the street, and that helplessness that you feel, or that frustration, not because you're scared. All right. Some people are. All right. Whatever that is. But I think a majority of people are like, I feel like I want to do something. I don't know what to do. And now I feel bad.
Yep.
In general, I have a bad feeling and I don't know what to do with that. And then I carry on with my day. And I feel like people, number one, you had said at the beginning, is we're so busy trying to make these rent for and pay our bills.
And I don't think that's an accident. I think that's intentional.
By design,
Sure. Oh, yeah. All these things are just, there are so many things to distract us from actually getting good work done, because people who want to keep things the way they are can be strategic about that, to keep things the way they are.
Because they're the ones benefiting
Exactly.
from the way things are going.
I think something that is hard to grasp, but people who find themselves in those frustrating situations, is involvement. It's like if you think about the road of like exercise and losing weight. For me, like, man, I've been like trying to shed like this extra 10 pounds for like, now it seems like since my kids were born. My oldest is like 3.5.
Did you have the baby? Or did your wife?
Yeah, I know. No, yeah, I put on baby weight too.
Weight?
Yeah.
She crushed it. She looks great. It's not even fair, but she puts in the work. But it's consistent work. It doesn't happen immediately, and it's with intention, and it's planned, and you have to plan it out in your day. Even though it's like, okay, I can't watch that show, but I'm going to go on a run or whatever. We have to find that space, and I feel like it's easy to deprioritize involvement. Oh, that's hard. Am I really going to make a difference? Same why so many people don't vote. It's just one vote.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but 80 million people add up. Those one votes is everything. That one voice, our collective community, is really important to move needles.
Yeah.
And
that's why they work
out.
really hard to disenfranchise people, because your vote does
It
matter.
does matter. So they wouldn't be fighting the vote so hard if people's vote didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I will say one thing, and like, luckily these are not my friends. I've been blessed with a very great community here, but I think y'all are being nice, because there are plenty of people that I've heard that are not uncomfortable and they don't feel helpless. They just want to get rid of the solution.
Oh,
They want or get rid of that population. Where are
yeah.
they supposed to go?
Right.
Where,
Yeah.
where do you think they're supposed to go? You have us people who will have to pay 3 times the rent just to move in anywhere. You think they have that? And if they did, they probably wouldn't be living on the street. But also, some people just choose to. I watched a documentary about Skid Row, and some people choose to be there. But
Sure.
that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be things in place to help them. Because, like you said, when we help people, it helps us. Why? Because they don't have to go to the emergency room as much. If we have people that are willing to go and do outreach and give them essential things, and they don't have to be a burden on our jail system because they don't want to just go to jail for the night to get a meal. Like, those are things that if we help people help themselves, then we can all be better off as a society. And no, I don't have all the answers, but I can find someone, that coalition building that you talked about, Linsey. I can find someone that does. My friend Dan Wood is doing amazing things in the housing space, especially for homeless outreach. He's been doing it for years, so I can say, "Hey Dan, tell me about that thing you did in LA or London." And like, those are things that you can do when you focus on social fabric, community building, finding people with answers that are going to help these people that you may not have everyday contact with. And you might be afraid because people are afraid of what they don't know, but that turns into anger. And that's what a lot of people are leading with these now, not empathy, but anger.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's
a
not
huge
getting us
driver.
anywhere.
Yeah, fear and anger. But I also think you made a good point that there are established organizations and
Yeah.
people doing work that
Yeah.
you can ride momentum. So yeah, okay, you
Fund
can't
them.
solve that person's homelessness that you pass. But you can find an organization that's working on helping that in some way and link arms, and now your energy is amplified, and that organization is amplified by your energy that already is in the right momentum.
Yeah.
And now you don't feel alone in that work. You don't feel as helpless. And that's, I feel like, the reminders that we need. But I agree, we are being nice. And we keep saying they. So, it's interesting, like, they want to keep people in that. It's interesting, like, how do you define they? Who's they?
Ooh, that's
Rich,
a good question.
very,
Very
very wealthy people?
wealthy oligarch types,
Yeah.
some of these PACs that are being funded with so much money that
Yeah.
are able to literally influence votes, like, those people are, I'm going to just say it. Florida Power is one of them that I have an issue with because, look at our environment. We want to cut down more wetlands, more, like, how much
Yeah.
more
It's awful.
do you want? How much more do you want to take? Some of these home developers, how much more land? And you want to complain because there's a cougar in your yard and there's coyotes walking around. Well, where are they supposed to go? Again, where are they supposed to go? We're talking
Also,
about
these-
homeless people, animals. Where are they supposed to go?
Well, not only that, but why are these hurricanes becoming more stronger and things like that? Why is the environment fighting back against us? It's this thing that's been building called climate change. We need to protect our earth, because your investments aren't going to be good on that beach if you keep doing the things that you're doing to fuel the precipitation in the air, which fuels all of these cycles, making things stronger.
Your bunker is not going to save you from the world on fire.
Yeah.
Especially not if you keep telling people exactly where it is. They're
Yeah,
going to come find you.
that too. Yeah.
They're going to storm the Bastille eventually.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're going to be the first to be stormed. Okay, this has been great. What about number 2?
Well,
So, Jameka, I'll have you go first.
you touched on it. The environment, that is very important to me. I was working at USF St. Pete when Milton and Helene hit. And, part of that campus was just devastated by, flooding some of the buildings. We had a lot of professors and staff members and students lose their homes. And you're watching that devastation in real time. And I think afterwards, I think our city came together like they always do and, help one another. But I think there's more things people can be doing to build resiliency. So we're not rushing and scrambling after the disaster has already hit. Those are things like holding corporations accountable for their emissions and having them implement more green energy into their working practices. I know when I was at USF St. Pete, I worked with the student Green Energy Fund. We had this machine called the Orca, and it was in the nest, and it composted a lot of waste, and we would give it to the Bayboro food forests. When we transitioned from Aramark to Chartwells, Aramark was going to take their to-go, we called it the Aussie. It's a green container. The machine cleans it, spits it out. It's like the Aldi shopping cart. You put a coin in and you get your little to-go thing. They were going to want to do away with that. I said, absolutely not. This campus is huge on sustainability. And while your contract is still here, you have an obligation to fulfill it. So we need more Aussie boxes. And then I went to Chartwells to make sure we were continuing that program. Probably why I'm not there anymore. I'm a gutsy girl. I quickly found out they had a different vision for the program, but they did listen to me on that. I was like, this campus, they will riot if we get rid of those. And I mean, like, that's something that's very important to them. Even after my events, if it's a root beer floats on, a harbor walk, I collected all those cans myself and put them in the machine that feeds the student pantry. So those are small things that everyday people can be doing, but larger. I'm holding corporations accountable for their emissions. And like I said, stop letting them buy up all the land. We need trees to breathe. I'm an asthmatic. I need to breathe. But everyone, needs to. I remember my stepbrother was living in San Diego, and he just started having nosebleeds. They've done a lot to clean up their fuel and their emissions, and it's a lot clearer now. But why does it take that for us to, we've all seen Wall-E. I don't want to head there. I don't want to be enlarged on a boat because I can't live out and I need to touch grass. I'm an earth sign, for God's sake. So yeah, the environment is very important to me, and I'm just gonna say it. No cruise line in our last clean space in our water, please. For goodness sake.
Yeah,
if people can't go
I'm
to
a sucker
Tampa
for cruises, but yeah,
too.
we need to. That can be remedied in different ways.
Keep going to Tampa. It's fine. It's 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cross the bridge and get on that boat.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this quick break.
What if your blog could work twice as hard? The Blogcast turns your written content into a polished, professional audio experience so you reach more people without the time and cost of a full podcast. You focus on running your business, we'll handle bringing your words to life. Visit NaamanCreative.com to have your voice be heard.
We're back. Thanks for sticking with us. Now back to the conversation.
So both of your top two are the realms that we live. I guess everything is part of the worlds we live, but your home and then your environment. Two quick notes regarding having corporations be accountable for their emissions. There's a great organization called Citizens Climate Lobby that I recommend anybody get involved in. It's a bipartisan action committee.
Great.
That so they link arms. So a Republican and a Democrat have to join at the same time. And now that it's a committee that what is it called? I'm loss of words, but there's lots of people who sign up to help get government officials to join together to then have a greater voice in that. And one of the things is a carbon tax.
Yes.
And that carbon tax would be collected on the amount of the emissions that corporations emit, and then it would be redistributed to everyone. So it would come back to us. And so they would be incentivized not to do that because money influences everything. And then the second thing is that if you're a corporation or a small business, you can become carbon neutral by, there's a lot of different organizations, but you can offset your emissions. So they'll have a questionnaire. You say, this is my team, this is my building, this is what we do, this is how much travel we do.
Yeah, I think
give you a number.
that's like the B Corp. I know some of that is a part of becoming a B Corp.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I recommend becoming carbon neutral. These are all things that you can do to move the needle. But yeah, I mean, you tugged on a string that we could talk for hours about.
I literally could.
Yeah. No, and I mean, we could have a part 2.
Sure.
Lindsay, you're up, number 2.
Well, we've threaded this, I think, throughout most of the conversation, but I obviously, affordability is really important to me. And I think affordability is different for different people in different parts of our community, whether that's ensuring, if any company comes into St. Petersburg that wants to put its headquarters here, they have to provide living wages. Providing better public transit so people aren't relying on cars, that touches the environment, and it's an affordability issue, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you. When I first moved here, I could not believe how much it costs for me to change my title and registration over to the state of Florida.
And the
Yeah.
car
And
insurance.
then car insurance.
And car
My
insurance is
goodness.
also
My
wild.
goodness.
Exactly.
Wild.
I would love to just ride my e-bike or take the bus and not have to have a car. And that's, I mean, for me as somebody who is like, I mean, probably at this point, like lower middle class, I know that, service workers, folks that work in retail, hospitality, tourism, if I am wanting this, they definitely need something to help them with keeping some of their costs down. One of the cool things that the Edge District has actually done has been partnering with PSTA to give businesses free bus passes for their employees,
That's
which I think is
amazing.
awesome because it touches both, allowing employees to be able to use public transit and not have to rely on their cars, and it frees up parking. Because we know that parking is always an issue.
Absolutely.
But if we had better public transit, maybe we wouldn't have to, have so much emphasis put on parking. And I would also say, as a small business owner, I want to see opportunities for small businesses to, figure out ways of cutting some of their costs around, like some of their pain points. One of the things that I've been exploring is there a way for us to create group health insurance that small businesses around the city could actually buy into? We know that insurance premiums are going up, and many of our small businesses do not have health insurance and do not offer health insurance to folks. And as somebody that, works in public health, believes in universal health care, I mean, I feel like this is one of the closest things we can do is reaching those populations that are either underinsured or not insured at all. And that helps us reduce, over time, healthcare costs for folks that end up in the ER. I think about folks that are, living in some of our neighborhoods in South St. Pete that are struggling not only to make rent and to, even purchase their first home, but also the folks that are living in older housing stock and they can't afford to make repairs or rehab. So then they're being pressured to sell. And that's why we're seeing private equity come in and purchase all those single family homes in South St. Pete. 40% of Campbell Park is vacant, which is insane given that we are in an affordable housing crisis. We've gone through 2 hurricanes where folks were looking for houses that were in a non-flood zone. But most of that is because we've had private equity come in and buy up those single family homes and just sit on them.
Yikes.
And this is actually a bipartisan issue. I mean, Bernie Jacques, who is about as conservative as you can get as a state legislator, actually tried to pass a bill last year that would have actually given home rule back to cities to essentially create zones where private equity couldn't buy single family residences. So I think there's a policy opportunity here to preserve some of the last pieces of affordable housing for folks who need it. I also think that there's ways of leveraging CRA dollars and other funding sources to help some of these older folks that just cannot afford to,
Do their repairs.
replace their roof, which replacing your roof can reduce your property insurance. I mean, there's all these things that I think that we can look at, together can really help, I think, address a lot of pieces of affordability that touch different parts of our community.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, with the tenants union, we tried to put a tax on these vacant homes. We tried to, rent control. We tried all those things, but we have a state legislature, again, that's hell-bent on keeping the rich rich.
Oh, they love
That they-
preemption.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, when we did get somewhere on rent control and things like that, and Orlando saw what we were doing and got it passed, but he came back and said, oh, it's unconstitutional. So I'm like, so buying up all these places just to sit on them and taking a tax loss is not unconstitutional. That's fine, but not taxing these people so that can benefit people, so that we're asking you for less money at the state level is fine. Like,
And now they're trying to get rid of property tax for homesteaded properties,
Yeah.
which is going to absolutely
devastate
municipalities and counties.
It's such an interesting thing because you'd think that these people would be a little smarter, that their companies, first off, you're good. Like, how much is enough? Next is, aren't you a long-term, shouldn't you be thinking in the long term? Same with the environment. The oil companies should be the first investing in renewables. I get, they have these systems and so much equipment and assets going in that direction, but the writing is on the wall, and they actually had funding and research in place well beyond when it was public knowledge about climate change.
Yeah.
You should be investing in that so you get ahead and dominate the market on sustainable energy.
You would think in theory that is how capitalism works, but that is absolutely. I actually kind of feel like, in a way, some of the most avid, zealous capitalists are nihilists. They're like, I'm going to get as much as I can because I don't see how anything is going to get any better. And that is a really depressing thing to think about.
It is dark.
It is dark, but I also think, but to your point, I don't know how else you square this circle, on if I were an oil company, I would think the next iteration of this is renewable energy. So let's, try and do that. But no,
That's
they
wild.
rather go torture Venezuela and Iran, and they rather keep exploiting people have been acting like all this is new. And it's not. This is the foundation.
Not for non-Western countries.
All right.
Yeah.
This is the foundation of our country,
Yeah.
is pillaging other people's resources and then claiming them as our own. So this is not new. It might be new to some populations who've never experienced an
It's
ism.
explicit. I feel like now it's explicit.
Right.
People, it's in your face.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
Right.
So
it's not some covert CIA operative, which is normally how we've operated. It's now we are openly doing this. Yeah.
Woo.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, it's almost a good thing that we have a hard cutoff because, I mean, this, I recorded a 2.5-hour podcast with a buddy of mine just the other day, and that was easy. It just flew. And it wasn't even with two people like yourself. Let's move on to the third because this is kind of interesting, and it's tough because we care about lots of issues, but it's hard to, I wanted to throw something different in there, which is what has a lot of focus that maybe we could focus on some other stuff. So Jameka, what's number 3 for you?
It has a lot of focus, and I think other people should be focusing elsewhere. That's the erosion of LGBTQ rights that we're seeing. I mean, we're talking at federal level, the Supreme Court are going to be thinking about, reversing same-sex marriage.
What?
We have at the state, yeah.
I
Yeah,
missed
they've
that.
been
Oh my
they've
gosh,
been
I can't
working
even keep
towards
up.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the state level, we have DeSantis cutting AIDS medicine funding, like critical medicine that without it, people will die. Like, how evil is that? He just woke up one day and was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And then I really think he was targeting St. Pete and Tampa because people don't want to see other people happy and living and thriving at Pride. Like, so you're telling me that you can remove Mayor Welsh from his office because he put a flag up. Like, you think you have someone that the people elected, you have the right to do that. So I think that's, of all the things our state is facing that we just named, car insurance, health insurance, housing, our environment, his focus has been on just eroding the rights of LGBTQ people, of higher education institutions, trying to take sociology out of the curriculum. But his biggest focus, and I think the Supreme Court too, is eroding LGBTQ rights. When all these people, I say we because I am a queer person, we just want to exist. We want to have the right to exist, just like,
Should be simple.
yeah,
Come on.
like literally not asking for anything more or anything, just the right to live and exist and, thrive. Just like I said, I want you to. I want everyone. But I think a lot of people have gotten to a place where they are angry and they want other people to be sad and angry and lonely and feel all these things. Like, they don't want the world to be better.
Misery loves
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great
Yeah. So it's like they don't want the world to be better, or else they couldn't keep thinking in those silos that they do. They want everyone to be at the same level as they are.
It's really telling when you're talking about like rights of other humans, like with LGBTQ, all of those rights. When you're talking about like same-sex marriage, and just forever I've thought about this, like it's so telling about the people who have a problem with it. It's like they don't affect you at all. If someone else is expressing their love, are they harming you in any way? Are they threatening your family? Are you in danger? What is your hang up? Let them live. Our friend Carl Sagan here has talked about the silver rule, which I'm a huge fan of. The golden rule's great, but it can be compromised. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, that's an action that you're taking against other people.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes a problem, because I think I'm right, therefore I'm going to change your belief.
Yeah.
And that golden rule just was compromised because of my internal belief. The silver rule, Carl says, is don't do unto others what you don't want them to do to you. So do you want me to change you?
love
No.
that.
Then am I harming you? No. Then you
Yeah.
don't do the same thing to me, and
Yep.
we're good.
Absolutely.
And that's a much more harmonious inaction. And it's easier. Just don't do anything.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
focus on that. Why
Yeah.
don't you get a freaking hobby?
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
There are drums. We were talking about drums earlier.
Drums, there's
You
music.
could use your entire life trying to get
Nature.
good at drums.
Yeah.
Nature, go
Read
for a
a
walk.
book.
Yeah,
Learn to bake.
absolutely.
Yes.
How about you, Lindsay?
So I said federal politics. So I think at least like the few folks that I've talked to, I don't know about you, Jameka, but I hear a lot like, why would you ever want to run for office?
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything.
And here you
feels-
are.
Yeah, yeah.
Because people are asking why we don't want to.
Yeah. They're like, politics is awful. I hear from folks like when I'm out canvassing, they're like, oh yeah, I don't vote because I'm not really into politics and blah, blah, blah. And I think that because what's happening at the federal level really is so extreme, people take that and they apply it to everything else. And so one of the things that I try to remind people is that, listen, local folks who are running for office are the folks that you're going to see at the grocery store. They're your neighbors. They're the ones that are more likely to enact policy that's going to touch your life. Yes, at the federal level, there's definitely things that are happening that are not good, that touch everybody's lives. But at the end of the day, you know, what you do at the local level is definitely going to be more impactful. And so the focus on, you know, all the horrible things. I know people are exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Oh,
You
man.
know?
I'm exhausted.
People have stopped watching the news. They've stopped talking to their family, like, you know, especially if they have really differing political views. I mean, there's real, I would say there is obviously a push for this kind of divisiveness, which goes back to like what I said about social fabric.
Yeah.
But I wish people would, if you're feeling really depressed and awful because of what's happening at the national level, try focusing on local politics. Focus on the
Boom.
folks that are on your down ballot. I tell people, I'm like, I know that talking to people is not always easy, especially after going through COVID. I think we are all agoraphobic to some degree. And given the amount of social media we consume, we all are not as good as we used to be at talking to people in person. But I tell people, I guarantee you, if you go out and canvass with me one time, it will renew your faith in humanity. I know that sounds crazy, but I have had nothing but good experiences with people when I've been out canvassing. People are kind. They want to talk to you. They want to interact with other people. They actually deeply care about their community. We have so much more in common with each other than we don't, right?
Mhm.
And so I really think that tuning out what's going on, and listen,
That's dangerous.
it's hard. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay attention. I'm just saying, you know, if you feel like this is going to dull your senses, try focusing on something that you might actually feel a little bit more locus of control around. And listen, I am impacted by national politics every day. My partner is Iranian, and you know what's happening in Iran is really scary. It directly impacts us and his family, and it's extremely depressing. But I can tell you that when we go out and canvass together, we at the end of canvassing always feel a little bit better, because it's like, okay, the people in our community are actually really great. They actually love immigrants. They love, you know, other people in the community. They actually really care. And we have to remind ourselves of that, because otherwise we start thinking that everybody else in America hates us, wants to see us fail, you know, I think. And then that just festers, you know.
But also look how we got here.
Yeah.
It's because people weren't voting and running. Progressive people weren't running for office in the school board, like these small things that are technically nonpartisan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
But the QAnon mom is right there trying to take the bluest eye out of schools. Like, so these are how, like, when you say that, yes, like your local government is the most tangible thing to you. You say you want a stoplight at this, well, you need to go to City Hall and tell them you want a stoplight at this. I did it after the hurricane. I was like, hey, Gina Driscoll, hey, girlie. There's a tree down on 9th that people are literally getting in the street to walk around, and 2 days later, she had a truck out there coming to pick that tree. She's like, oh my gosh, no idea. Thanks for letting me know. You know, that's such an easy way to get involved.
Yeah,
But
it's low-hanging fruit.
now is not the time for apathy. It is not
100%.
the time
to
be able to, and I understand being bogged down and feeling that, but I know for a fact that me focusing on taking my attention from the national sphere, like now I just listen to the two Heathers, Heather Cox Richardson, and I can't think of the other Heather's name, but they both do the Substacks, and that's the only thing that I allow myself. I get one comprehensive Substack a day to be like, okay, that's enough.
Sure.
And then I focus on my campaign and the things that matter to me, and my own community, my chosen family, my real family. Those are things that matter to me and keep me feeling, because I see the problems you go through as a local business owner, and all the businesses I frequent that no vacancy. What? The Hideaway Cafe? What? Like, I don't want that to keep
The
happening.
Chataway.
Yeah, the Chataway. Like, institutional places are leaving us because private equity and I'm not like, I am not anti-development, but I am pro-responsible development, and I am pro-development that is going to benefit my community.
Yeah.
That means hiring people locally, paying living wages, giving enough, supporting them enough so they can have insurance. Like, those are things that fuel me and that rev me up. And my why. Why would you want to do this? Because look at us. Someone's got to do it, and we can't keep allowing the same people with private interests to keep doing it, because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse until we don't recognize anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and people are already saying that. I mean, there's been multiple, like, man, this isn't the St. Pete that, when I first moved here. It's just not the same city. The artists, the quirkiness, all of those things that made St. Pete the desirable place that people want to move to, those things are getting priced out. And I was even thinking too, like, we talked about the environment. Man, that is something that feels very big and hard to try and enact change on. But you and I both want to see things like a public utility around electricity, right? That is something that we can actually do here that will not only address affordability, but it will address environmental issues, and it will make sure that that people actually have the ability to make decisions around electrical use, renewable energy, rather than continuing to line the pockets of corporate interests. And that's something that we can do locally, right? Which is really exciting, And I think if people knew that those are the things you can do locally, I think they might actually be more interested in getting involved.
Agreed. Well, hopefully this is a reminder of that. Someone who tunes into this, I feel like the tug of not turning this one off is much greater than maybe other ones, but I have pretty good guests, not going to lie, and good conversations. But I just appreciate all this fuel. We've reached a point in our episode called Rapid Fire.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I love when people go along. So ultimately, I'm going to ask the same questions that I ask all guests. We see the through lines and the differences.
Sure.
Ideally, keep it as concise as possible, especially with a hard deadline to hit here. But if you need to expand, it's all good. You just lose points.
Ooh, okay.
So I got 4 questions for you. The first one, and we'll start with Jameka and then go to Linsey. We'll just keep that order because that's where we went. So first one is, what is your biggest source of inspiration?
Jesus.
Boom.
Keeps me calm and from punching people. And he was just a good man.
All right.
Like a flipping tables like that. I'm ready to flip some tables for sure.
Clearly. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say, like, honestly, the women and queer people in my life definitely continue to help me keep going. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Both strong sets of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Nailed it. You guys are doing great. So we're on an island, and this is a 2-part question. So first part is you're on an island alone, hanging out, and no library, but a book can fall from the sky and that you can continue to read on that island alone. What is that book?
The Woman I Wanted to Be by Diane von Furstenberg. She was a self-made woman. I mean, her mother survived the Holocaust. She was Diane's a self-made woman who failed many times and just rebranded her business several times over. And let me tell you, that woman has lived a life. So, yes, that book was just so inspirational to me.
Great. Okay.
I'm a big science fiction nerd, so I would honestly say The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin.
All right.
That book has so many really interesting social justice and commentary, like social commentary in it, that it's like every time you read it, you come away with something different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I love that. Carl Sagan, his only novel, Contact, was about that. They destroyed the whole point in the movie pretty much
Yeah.
because it was all about deciding who goes on this machine and who's chosen and who represents Earth and things like that. And so much meat there. I love like hard sci-fi. So, all right. So we're friends.
I have the golden disc,
Aw.
the pulsar map.
All right.
I
Oh,
know
yeah.
this for you guys. Love it.
Well, yeah. So you're on that island, and now a record drops from the sky. So you've got a vinyl player,
God.
right? So, yeah, I know. It's a little harder.
That's rough.
Yeah, and you could be a musical artist. You don't have to limit it to an album. But what on repeat?
Oh, a
Can I
musical
do a
artist.
greatest hits of all the people I love? No, I'm kidding.
And now that's what I call 47.
Yeah,
seriously.
right? Ooh, okay, record. We're going vinyl. You know what? I think one of the most complete CDs, non-skippers, was The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
That's a good one.
I don't know if you've heard it. If you haven't, you have homework. And you are doing yourself a disservice if you haven't. I mean, start to finish.
Great.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a tough one to
That is
narrow
rough.
down.
I know.
That
I
is
know.
rough. It still hurts.
I would say, honestly, I love Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. It's great on vinyl. And also, it's just a good album.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I can speak to Daft Punk. They've got a cool sound. They're
Yeah.
they're really neat. And I look
It's sad
forward
that
to
they're no
your
longer
recommendation.
a band, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's as a musician, it's tough to keep that going. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a grind, but it is
Mhm.
so worth it. It's so much
Mhm.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing is, a band can make a lot of cool stuff and then leave it, and there's no changing that album.
Yeah.
Then it's there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are doing great. Now we're through I think the hardest part. I know
Okay.
the island scenario is tough.
All right.
Because if I got asked that question, I'd be like, what's my
I almost
mood?
was.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, what's my mood? I'm like, do I want Cuban Social Club? Do I want disco? Do I
Yeah.
like that's rough.
Yeah.
I think I saw a Cuban Social Club. Yeah, years ago. Yeah, it was
Love.
yeah, it was very random. Anyways, last question.
Okay.
How do you define success?
When you can wake up and be good with yourself and decisions you make, and even when you can go to other people and they're good with you and decisions you made and how you treated them and how you treated yourself. This has nothing to do with your class, your job, nothing. Just that when you can sit with yourself and be good with yourself, I think that's success.
I love that. I love that.
I think about the saying, like, leave the campsite better than you found it.
Mm-hmm.
We only have a finite amount of time on this campsite, and you got to leave it better than what you found it.
Mhm.
And I think that's the simplest way and most concise way I can define success.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, leave nothing but your footprints, as they say in the beaches around here,
Yeah.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm always frustrated. Like, you left this, like, can. Like, what are you doing, man?
Exactly.
Or the cigarette next to the trash can.
Yeah, it's like,
bro,
come on.
You were so
what is
close.
that?
You were so
So
close.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, we touched on the environment and things like, and also it can be metaphorical too, on like cleaning up ourselves and like making sure that we're okay and we're happy with it and how we treat others, because that shows up on the cleanliness literally of our streets or whatever that might be. But we're all on this mote of stardust floating in a sunbeam, and so like, even though that's small, it's very big, and this is an important thing that, it's fragile. And so, number one, you both won.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank
you both won
you.
rapid fire.
Thank you.
It has been a fantastic time with
Yeah,
you. Like
same.
we could
Same.
sit here all day
Oh,
and just
yeah.
dive in.
Definitely.
I know we're going to try to do like a forum here at Connect St.
Oh,
Pete
that
with
would
like
be
more
great.
candidates. And
Awesome.
obviously, I bet you two would be down. But
Yeah,
I'll be
totally.
in touch with you about that. I hope that anybody listening would vote. When's voting day for local?
So the primary is August 18th. There are 5 of us in the race.
Mhm.
And then the general is November 3rd.
Okay, cool. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, good
Make
deal.
sure that make sure you're registered to vote.
There it is.
Yes.
Make sure that if you want to vote by mail, that you have that you are registered to vote by mail.
Because they're purging.
Yeah, yes, and they've changed the law, so make sure you check. And I know the League of Women Voters is advocating for another early voting site in South St. Pete. So if you are interested and you're one of those people that likes to early vote and you live in South St. Pete, like get involved and help us try and add another early voting site.
Wonderful.
Or come with us to stop redistricting.
Also
in
that. There's also that.
Tallahassee.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of things you can do.
There
So if
is
you're bored or
no
wondering what you can
shortage.
do,
Yeah.
there's clearly stuff you can plug into,
100%.
especially at the local level, which I loved how we covered. Jameka Williams, Linsey Grove, I really appreciate your time and, your energy and what you're doing. You obviously care. And these are the people who move the needle forward and are good for humanity. And we need more of you. And so I wish you both the best.
Thank
And
you.
everything. I look forward to continuing this
Thanks,
conversation.
Josh.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
Awesome.
us here.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.